Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 22nd, 2022 at approximately 12:26 p.m. PST. Now, today I'm looking at a very simple issue. How do you reclaim dominant control over your career, over your life? Okay, so I'm going to go through it one step at a time. Okay, because frankly, we've been going around in circles a lot, primarily because that's the way my brain usually works. Now, I returned to this world for one purpose and one primary purpose only, and that is to remind everybody in existence that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are exactly the same tools I personally use myself. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to reclaim power over your life, over your career. Now, this does not mean you control everything. It means you control your life. Okay, now I've been told that you should, I've been told by professional videographers, you should sit still because it's distracting if you move around. Well, it probably is, but let's face it, I'm just plain not, I don't follow that rule the best of times. Before you jump on that, no, that's not beer. That's actually apple juice. But when you're looking at a couple of things to keep in mind, I'm going to end up moving around a bit because that's just the way my life goes. Hey, little Katie, how we doing? Well, I agree with you there. Sitting still is a good way to practice focus, and ultimately, it's an excellent way. The reality of it is that if I had ever learned how to actually stay focused on one thing, I'd be doing good. But on the other hand, I did find out something intriguing, and that was where to go right there. What I did find out, I went to actually a psychiatrist to find out if I suffered from ADD, ADHD, or what have you. Okay. And as it turns out, the answer is no. I just happen to be excessively active. Charlene, welcome aboard. The nice part. Oh, okay. I misunderstood that one, Katie. I appreciate that. No, if I sit still, you can, number one, I get a little lost. But here's the thing. When you're looking at taking and reclaiming power over your life, you've got to get straight in your head what you desire to do. Now, the most effective tool that I ended up finding was this one. Where is it? This one right here. Because of where things sit right now, but this little sign. Okay. Pardon the handwriting because it really is bad, but what the heck? I am worth it. Okay, this is the four most powerful words I've come across in any language. I keep a copy of this, obviously, in my office. I've got one that is laminated on cardstock on my fridge, on my freezer up front in the kitchen. And I have another one that is just on paper on the front door of my apartment. What this does, because it continually reminds you. Oh, that got moved a little. My wooden one is right here. Now I'll show you. I hope. Yeah, I had to modify things a little. But I do still have it. I'm not about to throw that out. It's just it ended up making sure certain things didn't fall over. And because I got tired of tripping over it. One of the things about making certain things that your home runs properly is knowing what you're aiming at. Okay, that one I didn't actually get outside to do much with this year. I've still got some more stuff I'd like to add to it to clean it up a little. But those 4 words, the reason I say put them on your fridge freezer is because when you have company coming over, the fridge is the one appliance in anybody's house that pretty much everybody reads. Okay, that's why parents put their kids' pictures on their kids' pictures, the kids' artwork, whatever, on the fridges, because everybody looks at it. But by putting those 4 words there, you're actually also assisting them in reminding themselves that they too are worth it, because every single one of us is worth the same amount, not financially, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Greetings, football. Glad you made it. So that's the first thing. If you haven't got a sign like that in your office where you're working on your finances, okay, wherever that is, have that clear and ready for hand. Now, the way I've got it set up, with it sitting where it is, as soon as I come through the office door, I've got that sign right there where I can see it. Okay, the second one is the white one you see here. Okay, now I'm a firm believer that signs around your place are kind of like just memory cues. Some people would call them mantras. Okay, now this one says we have legally acquired a minimum of $3,800 by September 30th, 2022 at 23:59, which is military for 1 minute to midnight. Now that is for the entire household. Okay, and then below that line, we've got the second one, which has to do with my business. Inner Voice Enterprises has legally generated a minimum of $700 by September 30th, 2022 at 23:59, also known as 1 minute to midnight. Okay, this number, that 3,800, that is what it costs for you, whatever that number is what it costs for you to run your house. Okay, now I put these both on the same sheet because I run my business from home. So this 700 here is actually included in that 38. Greetings, Nightmare. Glad you can make it. You know, that 700 is what I am looking at to run my business, but it fits inside my household income because I run from home. So of course, again, you keep this handy where you can see it. Okay. And that way I've got that. Now, the other thing that I've done, and this boils down to what you see as your idea of success. Okay. Now, understanding, last month, I think I only made like 3,300. So I'm about $500 short of what I was aiming at, but I did not drop my goal. Okay. But depending on how big what you see as success, okay, that's what you aim at, not what anybody else tells you is success. Okay, so this other little thing, and again, it's written in present tense. Okay, we own the empire, Inner Voice Enterprises. There you go. Okay, that is what I'm aiming at. In the long run, when we take all the books and put them aside, we take all the kind of consulting I do, everything is geared towards building an empire. Now, am I ever likely to incorporate? Not the way the laws are right now. Okay. But, success for you may simply be cleaning out your office, getting rid of the junk. And that's where we're going next here. Okay, as you can tell, I keep these things hanging around where I can see them. And by the way, this other picture here, this is simply because it was a picture that I came across. Okay, this is simply the tree outside of Saruman, outside of Saruman's castle. Outside of his tower in the Lord of the Rings. Okay, It just happens to be a picture. I didn't know where to hang it at this point, so that's where I went. So you get an idea of what you're looking at. What do you see as success? Now, I don't have it printed off right now, but I strongly encourage you to put, whether you're running a household or you're running a business, it doesn't matter. Put a policy book together so that you know how to deal with different complications, okay, or different situations. All a policy book is, some people would call it operations and procedures. All that boils down to is you take whatever it is, write down the date you're making the decision. Okay, put that, you put down the date, describe what the decision is, and you literally put down why that decision was made. Now, to that end, I'm adjusting my policy books today. Where are we here? That can actually look not bad. Well, that didn't exactly work the way it is. Of course, it's not going to cooperate, right? Okay, I've got 4 monitors here. So I'm just getting stuff out of my way here for a minute. Simply because it's annoying to me. And did that work? No, so I'm not going to fight with it. Anyway, I've got this neat little tab on my Excel sheet that I've titled Clutter Be Gone. And here's the thing. On that sheet that I showed you before, that had the list, I've moved it onto my Excel sheet for the moment. Okay. And what I am doing at this point is I've got a whole pile of things that I have to get done. And this is the thing. Where it comes to organizing your own house, okay, while your own house, your own business, doesn't matter. Even, by the way, let's assume for a moment, because I've got a couple of listeners that are truckers, and their office, their house, essentially, is in the back of their truck, and this applies there as well. You take anything that is not helping towards getting things running smoothly, and you clear the clutter out of the way. So right now, I had to make a decision, and again, I use a lot of notes. This funny little thing. I had to make a decision for the books I'm running, and for the books I'm writing, for the Yldrbacian Chronicles. Make notes so you can put a list together and eliminate the things that you do not require. Okay, that are not contributing to what you consider your success. Okay, if we look over here, you've got my old income taxes all up here, and then I've just got envelopes. Okay, because those are just envelopes I use for business. This is why when somebody orders a book, I can reach up, grab the envelope, fill it out, and within 3 business days, I can have it airborne to wherever it's going. You know, if you look at my website, rkeithandrews.com, you'll see the list of the 7 books I've already got in print. And I will be adding to them pretty quick as far as that goes. Plus, I've got somebody building a website for me, like an actual website at Yldrbac.com. Okay, for exactly the same reason. If you're going to be successful, the first thing that I found out, the most recent thing rather, is that when you desire to be successful, start carrying yourself as though you're already a success. Okay. I had somebody one of the things I had somebody trying to do today was sell me more advertising. Well, for the amount of money that I've spent on people that have said, oh, we'll get you all this visibility, we'll drive traffic to your site, I have literally spent thousands of dollars, and I'm pretty certain you have as well. Okay, if you have it. But the reality of it is it didn't do me any good. So I subsequently made the decision. I will work with them and with the social media. Okay, work inside their boundaries. And other than that, it will be a slow going from that standpoint. But it boils down to you decide what you find and what you feel is success to you, not what I feel is success. For me, it boils down to getting first success, and you always take a look at the small things. Okay, I've got my office set up. Okay, so that works out well. And yes, right about now, you could say I'm drinking too much. Let's face it. I got my cup of coffee. I've got my apple juice. And then I've got my ice water. So I keep it all, it's all very handy from that end. And then this is some of the things I've got. I've been making lists. So this is just some of the stuff I've been transferring onto my desktop to start eliminating them. Okay. So I've got a bunch of things here I've got to deal with. And of course, the reality is in a couple hours here, I've got to go on shift. So I'm here for a bit of time. That's obvious. Okay, but you reclaim power over your life by first acknowledging the fact that you actually have the ability to do so. The website there, Charlene, and I'll put it in here I'll type it in as well. But the website is actually rkeithandrews.com. Trying to type when your hand isn't working right doesn't exactly work well. Okay. And there we have it. That has the list of the 7 books I've got in print right at this moment. But in addition to that, you're more than welcome there, Charlene. In addition to that, I'm working on the other 10, the 2 that are out right now. Well, I've shown these to you before. Out of the Yldrbac Chronicles, we have The Birth of the Wolf Pack. It is in print, and as you can see, it is readily available. Okay. Then we have the sequel, which is the end of an epoch. Okay. So those are readily available. And yes, the maps in them are color. And obviously they are signed. Well, I don't know about the obvious thing. Right now, because I've had so many problems with people saying they could do things to make it work better or not, and have not been forthcoming, I've just decided I've had enough of spending money on well wishes from people and what I consider hollow promises. But I had to get to the point of doing the same thing, ultimately, that from my understanding, Colonel Sanders did, the guy that built Kentucky Fried Chicken. My understanding is he turned 65, opened his first chicken stand, and 4 months later, he shut it down because people would not do things his way. They wouldn't produce what he was asking for. So he closed the doors, and I don't know if he opened under the same name or if he then changed it to Kentucky Fried Chicken. But in today's world, he's well known all around the world. Okay, because he got a goal in his mind and went, this is what I'm doing. Okay, ultimately my goal is to move more of my information into book form, which is why I've ended up writing these 2. This one, Believe in Your Business, in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams, is the backbone to how I turned my life around. This one is Believe in Your Business and Follow Your Dream. Okay, this is the same tools I personally use to build my business. Then I came up with this little idea. And this is what I mean by taking dominant control of your own life. Okay, this one, Races of the Worlds. Those of you that know me from the UFO Society, and more specifically from Dave Scott's Spaced Out Radio. Okay, I got asked by so many people to put this information together that these 59 races in this book are all ones I've personally dealt with. Now you get to figure out if that makes me an experiencer, or just completely off my nut. Okay. Now that one, by the way, is a reference manual. Okay. And then we have these two. This one, Mr. Dreamcatcher, was written literally for my 2-year-old son, because at the time I decided that I was bored reading the same books that everybody else did. I was reading him, Dr. Seuss, the Berenstain Bears, this sort of thing. So I rattled this story off the top of my head. And yes, it is completely illustrated. Okay. The whole thing is written and illustrated by me. And like I said, I am not what we would consider an artist. At least not in my eyes. But I turned around and wrote this story. And what ended up happening was my son, from age 2 to about a month before he turned 8, refused to go to bed unless we read that story to him. So I ended up putting it in print so his mom could read it as well. So I got that one written, got that one published. I actually took it to First Nations in this case, because being the Dreamcatcher, I took it to First Nations, right? And I asked them to look at it, and they told me, and this is from your standpoint, hearsay only, but the person I was talking to said it is the best story of a Dreamcatcher they'd read. But because I am not personally First Nations, they couldn't do anything with it. Which, okay, their call. Didn't stop me from doing anything with it. I wrote the sequel to it, which is Mr. Dreamcatcher Returns. Now, this one, as you can tell, if we take a look, I linked them together again. Habit of mine, I think. But if we take a look at this one, when Mr. Dreamcatcher comes alive, okay, when you meet him, he becomes Mr. Dreamcatcher. So, of course, Mr. Dreamcatcher Returns is right there. It's the same character. Okay. And he was brought in for the second story. Now, I did write a third one, but unfortunately, I've lost the written form of it. I know what the story was, but I do not know where it got to. So what I've done, of course, now I'm trying to close it down and can't, which is really annoying, by the way. I do apologize for that, but my hands are apparently not working well. Okay. Pop those back together. And again, I have these in stock. So I turned around and wrote a third one to this set. Only I've lost it, so it's going to be a while. Okay. But I decided I was going to make my life work my way. Okay. And that boiled down to going, what do I require? So what I did, if you look back at the older videos, you'll see all this area up here was totally cluttered. Okay. Now all I've got up there, up until, let's see, you can see to there. The side you can see are different dragons and what have you that are tied directly to the Yldrbacian Chronicles. Now, I did not make those. I stumbled across them. Okay. And I just keep them there as kind of a motivation, if you will. Now, somebody came up with a brilliant idea for a couple of different posters. Because for me, success boils down to this. My writing and whatever paraphernalia I come up with that goes with it is what I ultimately desire my income to be coming from. Because it's essentially fire and forget information. As in, I write the stories, I put them to print, and they're in existence. I don't have to write the story again. Although I will tell you, when you're looking at changing your own life for what you consider the better, it's going to take some time to do it. Okay, if you look over here, get this out of the way. This desk quite often gets covered, but this is where I do all my painting. Hence why I've got the paints over here. I've got that station there. Why do I have a second chair? Because every single time I've turned around and bought an office chair with casters, even when I got one of the plastic mats that was supposed to make it roll easy over the carpet, it didn't work. So I gave up and just said, scrap it. I'll just deal with 2 chairs at my office. For me, that works. But you'll notice what I'm doing is taking everything out of the way that I don't require. By the way, I found out, the sidetrack here, I found out if you take a cell phone and you drop it on gravel, it really ruins the screen. Fortunately, I think it's coming up due for a renewal anyway. But I've got the weights down here, the weight being that which holds the bookshelf in place. My petty cash is under this shelf. Then I've got the 7 books that I've got written are kept right there. Okay, all the inventory is on the other side. But what I'm doing is organizing my office so that everything is laid out properly. Now, with that in mind, the way to reclaim power over your life is to look at what's not working for you. Things that are working, like, for instance, I've got my computer situation is running beautifully for me. So I will leave it as is. Okay, but you have to look at if there's something that's not fitting right, that's the thing you look at changing. Okay, that's the thing you modify the flow on. Because what ends up happening is as you remove the things that are not working well for you, what you end up with is a world where everything you're doing is successful. Okay, this does not mean any one of you is any better than the next person or is any worse. These are just simply the tools I personally am putting to use. And the way I see it, since they work for me, there's a good bet they'll work for you as well. If you haven't given them a shot, now is the time to do it. Because now is the only time you can do it. And to be clear on that note, you can certainly postpone things for as long as you'd like. Okay, I don't like that sitting there. You can postpone things for as long as you would like altogether. But understand, even if you postpone making changes for 3 weeks, I'll start next week. When you actually start making the changes, it is in the here and now. And you're the only one that can do it. Okay, I had a client call me today talking about things that they could do to alter the way their business was running, to make it more successful. And these tools I'm talking about with you are quite seriously the same tools I was talking about with them. Okay, modified obviously for their individual requirements. But when you're looking at reclaiming power, you have to decide what is going to work for you. Now, I tend to work on a very tight schedule for myself now. And to that end, I had a client, I had a potential, a person that was offering to put me on the net more. But here's the way things went down. They got a hold of me, and I told them flat out, they got a hold of me, what's today? Today is Thursday. So they called me on Monday, and they said, look, we'd like to talk to you about this. I said, great. Send me the information and call me on Wednesday at 10 o'clock because I've got a very tight schedule. I already had a number of things lined out, but I was going to squeeze him in. So what does the guy do? He phones me at 9 o'clock, at 9:30, at 11:30, at 2:30. Okay. And then phones me again a number of times today. Never got anywhere near the time I told him to call me. Okay. Now, I'm just a tiny little fish. Okay. I am currently a 2-man operation. Well, 1 man, 1 woman. So I have doubled my manpower, as it were. But as compared to major companies, I am tiny. And what I did was told him flat out, look, you already blew the sale when you didn't call when you were supposed to. You know, they rely on sales. I cannot make my books, for instance, will not make any money if nobody knows where they are. But to that end, and this is where this thing comes in, I walk over here to this little folder. Okay, and in this little folder, this says on it corporate structure, Intervoice Enterprises corporate structure. Now, here's the funny thing with the corporate structure. Okay, I'm not going to incorporate, not the way the laws are right now, because my understanding of corporations, and it might be mistaken, but this is my understanding of it, is a corporation has to have a board of directors. And that board of directors has the authority, if they so choose, to fire you from your own company, essentially stealing your own company. Now, in my eyes, this is not a gamble I'm willing to take. I will, however, in time, draw together a board of advisors. Call me a control freak. I don't know. I'm just not interested in having things go the wrong direction. And the same thing is imperative where you're reclaiming power over your life. You're the one that has to be in dominant control. Everybody can have their opinion. Okay. And the government definitely has the authority to say you can do this or you can't do that. But this is authority that we as people granted them over the years. Not all of the decisions that were made have been real good ones, in case you hadn't noticed. But now we are at a position where, with the world in such disarray, okay, we have to realize if we are going to succeed as individuals, as a society, we must reclaim power over our own lives. Okay, now do understand the systems that are in place, the support people, the government agencies, the institutional setups, these systems are viable. They are being poorly managed at this point, but the systems themselves are viable. So what we have to focus on as individuals, as a society, is working together to put people into the position of these different organizations. And do understand I'm talking about due process. The legal system, the voting system, as far as democracy goes, the layout is right. It does work, as is evidenced by the number of different other racial groups. And I do mean racial. I don't mean, I'm referring to species rather. Different species that have evolved that use a similar system. Okay, the systems work, but we've got to learn to actually take responsibility and quit living in the past. Now, I can look at all the mistakes I made over the years. And you can look at all the mistakes you've made. And rest assured, you've made some pretty doozy ones, unless I'm reading something funny. Okay. But take a look at your own past and go, okay, what have I done that worked well? What have I done that didn't work well? The things that worked well, absolutely, assuming you are not breaking the first three karmic laws. Okay, those three laws being, be true to yourself first, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and energy out, energy in. By doing that, okay, you will end up sitting in a very good position. Okay, by following that, you can actually get yourself back on top of your own life. Okay, and ultimately, that's how success will be measured. Not how I see whether you're successful, whether you do. Okay. So you've got to get clear in your head what you see as success. Now, I'll give you an idea here. back in 2007, if I was holding my glasses right there, I could not physically see them. I decided this was not acceptable, that I was not going to live that way any longer. So I got looking around, and I came across a book called The Bates Method to Better Eyesight Without Glasses. Through the information in that book, and yes, I do have somewhere in my records here the ISBN number for that book. Okay, but the methods that were shown in there did help me correct my eyesight enough that now I can function quite nicely without glasses, except where it comes to reading or working on the computer. My eyes are not perfect, but just to walk around and do things that I desire to do, or to watch TV, I can, because I don't need it absolutely clear, I can work without my glasses now, whereas before I couldn't see enough to walk. Not really. Okay. You have the same capacity to change your own life, to change your own health. Now, you do not have to know everything that's wrong. Okay, or specifically for that matter. Like, for instance, I knew I was overweight. The worst I got was only 246 pounds, but I kid you not, it looked like I was wearing a basketball. So I decided, no, I'm going to drop the weight, not lose the weight. I decided I was going to drop the weight. Currently, I am just over 203 pounds. Now, I still desire to get below the 200-pound mark before the end of the year, but I seem to be having trouble getting there. Okay, so I will just stay focused on that. That is still and was my goal at the beginning of the year. It is still my goal now because I haven't hit it yet. But for the time being, that's what I'm focusing on. Now, here's the kicker. I watch the new medical people that come out, and they'll say, oh, by the way, this new breed comes out and says, oh, by the way, exercise and cutting back on what you eat is not the key to losing weight. You've got to buy this medicine. Okay, let me put it this way. I tried the medicine. For me, it was, and I'm not going to tell you which type, but they'll say, buy this medicine. It'll help you lose the weight. Didn't do a thing for me. I did give it a shot. Didn't do a thing for me. Well, it did do something. I took the medication they recommended, and 4 days later had a heart attack. That worked well. I mean, granted, if I'd have died, I would have been losing weight consistently. But I will tell you from practical experience, I turned around, increased my exercise level, increased the amount I was moving, and went, okay, I'm moving forward. I'm going to move a little, I'll adjust what I'm eating, and net result, I've dropped 40 pounds. Now, to me, this is a good thing. Okay, but you pick a goal that you are content with. The doctors say that at my height, at 5'8", I should only be 145 pounds. Well, I'm 203, and if you take a look at me, can you picture me dropping another 60 pounds? I mean, granted, I could do with losing this. But when you think about it, right now I'm 59. Okay, the odds of my dropping a whole lot, not good. But can you picture what I would look like if I dropped another 60 pounds of weight? This is why you have to look at what's reasonable to you. Okay, so I've got that on the go. And this is one of the things of controlling your world. Now, this, again, I was showing you this the other day, and I haven't worked with them yet today. But this is the figure I was working on yesterday. And as you can see, I've added a little more paint to him. Okay. And while I'm sitting here, I might just as well get part of that done. But, the reality of it is this. Pick the goals that are working for you, the ones that aren't. I have the shelf up top here, has different characters, different figures that I'm using to focus on which character, what the characters in my books are. Okay. And yes, in answer to that neat little question, I don't think anybody's asked it yet, but that's okay. One of the things that I was looking at with Mr. Dreamcatcher here, okay, when you take a look at Mr. Dreamcatcher, I do have different figures in here that I am looking at turning into additional merchandise down the road, whether it means into a t-shirt or into a cup or what have you. I don't know. I haven't looked that far into it. Okay. But and these pictures were actually and were made at the time I was talking to my 2-year-old that I wrote the story for. Okay. And when I wrote the story for him, I actually had his input into what the different characters were going to look like, aside from the main one. But you take a look at your goals, what you see as success, and that is what you target. Certainly get input from other people on how to get there. But when you're aiming at getting someplace, talk to people that have done it successfully. Where it comes to marketing, I've talked to so-called professionals. Oh, we know how to make this work. I've literally spent thousands of dollars on people that have said, we're professional, we know how to do this, we can make it happen. All to no avail thus far. Okay, so I'm taking things back a little. I'm stepping back a bit and going, okay, what am I going to do to reclaim power over my life? Well, right now, my office is set up nicely. I've got one box I'm putting stuff in that's going out the door. So it sits over there out of the way. Everything else I'm going through. Okay. Everything else I'm disposing of the clutter I don't require. Now, if we take a look here, okay, these are all books that I've written that are in inventory, ready to go out. And the idea is that I can look at them and go, you want to, if you desire one, there's believe in your business, there's believe in yourself, those ones there. Then we've got the smaller version of Mr. Dreamcatcher itself, and the Races of the Worlds. Then down here we've got the Birth of the Wolf Pack and the End of an Epic. Okay, so I've got the inventory here. When I talk about getting organized, and you notice I'm not looking, well, actually you can't tell, but I've got my office floor completely cleared, so I can move in here with no problem at all. I've got one desk left that I've got to clear of paperwork, and I'll be finishing that off today. I think I've got that already. Yeah, there's my painting desk. It's already set there. I've got various little tasks that I've got to track down and get out of the way. And I wonder, just a curiosity thing since I'm sitting here, 817. If we go up here. Oh, by George, I've already got it. I just haven't sent it. Okay, that I'll send out today, I think. Open that file up, and if it is what I think it is, oh, that's because it's the wrong one altogether. So we go here and scroll down through my list of sheets I have to work with, and 817 is there. So I just have to send it off as soon as it opens so I can make sure that it is what I think it is. See, that's 8, and there we go. And 52. Oh, okay, so I got to finish that off. So I will do that today. And again, this boils down to putting that list together so that you can go back through it and go, this is what I require. Okay, so I've just done that. And I've got here 10, 25, 52. I can go into here. I do not like naps, at least not for breakfast. So I take this, and this is what I mean about procrastination. It works like an absolute charm to get absolutely nothing accomplished. So what I've done here is literally just tied it off, and I'll be able to send it as soon as I get done here. Because the reality is, I've been on here for 45 minutes, which is not bad. But I am finding that if I get questions while I'm on the air, I'll be more than happy to answer them. But reclaiming power over your life boils down to one critical factor, and that is deciding that you're willing to put the effort into it. Because you can get all the guidance in the world. If you don't utilize the tools, it isn't going to do you much good. Now, with that in mind, because I've got a few things that have come to my attention I've got to get dealt with, I'm going to bring this to a close. I'm going to thank you very much for joining me, and I will return again. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.